Arthur Lee Burton, August 7, 2024, Texas. On August 7, 2024, Arthur Lee Burton was executed. He was convicted of the 1997 murder of Nancy Adelman, a 48-year-old mother of three, who was jogging near her Houston home. Burton brutally beat and strangled her with her own shoelace and attempted to rape her. He confessed to the killing, but later recanted that confession at trial. Originally sentenced to death in 1998, Burton's death sentence was overturned in 2000, then reinstated in 2002. In 2024, after 26 years on death row, his final appeals, including a claim of intellectual disability, were rejected. He was executed by lethal injection at the Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville and pronounced dead at 6:47 p.m. Texas does not allow special last meals. Burton therefore ate the standard prison dinner on his final day. In a remorseful final statement, Burton apologized to those he hurt, especially the victim's family, saying, "I want you to know that I am sorry for putting y'all through this." He thanked people who prayed for him and added, "Bird is going home," referring to himself by his nickname. Burton's execution was Texas's third of 2024. Well, he was executed in August. Tabaron Dave Honey, August 8, 2024, Utah. Convicted of the 1998 sexual assault and murder of 52-year-old Claudia Ben, his ex-girlfriend's mother. Honey attacked Ben, who was also his own daughter's grandmother, at Ben's home, killing her in a brutal assault. Ben's daughter pushed for execution while Honey's daughter pleaded for clemency. Sentenced to death in 1999, Honey spent 25 years on Utah's death row. After decades of appeals, Utah carried out its first execution in 14 years. Honey was executed by lethal injection shortly after midnight on August 8, 2024, and pronounced dead at 12:25 a.m. Honey requested a cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake, which he ate around 4:30 p.m. on his final day. He told officials he wanted his last meal. Strapped to the execution table, Honey said, "If it needs to be done for them to heal, let's do this." He urged others continue to change for the better and told his loved ones, "I love you all." Moments before death, he thanked the warden and a prison official taking care of my family, exchanged "I love you" with his mother across the witness room. This was Utah's first execution since 2010, marking the return of capital punishment in the state after a long hiatus. Lauren Kensley Cole, August 29, 2024, Florida. He was convicted of the 1994 kidnapping, rape, and murder of 18-year-old John Edwards. Cole and an accomplice ambushed Edwards and his 20-year-old sister while they camped in Ocala National Forest. Cole slashed Edwards' throat and bludgeoned him, while the sister was handcuffed, repeatedly raped, and tied between trees. Edwards' body was found hidden under brush the next day. In 1995, a jury convicted Cole of first-degree murder, multiple kidnappings, sexual battery, and robbery. The accomplice received life in prison. While Cole was sentenced to death, Cole spent nearly 30 years appealing, arguing his troubled upbringing and claiming innocence, but courts denied relief. Governor Ron DeSantis signed Cole's death warrant in July 2024, scheduling his execution for 6 p.m. on August 29th. Cole was put to death by lethal injection at Florida State Prison, pronounced dead at 6:15 p.m. Cole ate a final meal of pizza, ice cream, M&Ms, and a soda. Cole's execution was Florida's first of 2024. It proceeded after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected his final appeals, which had included objections due to his Parkinson's disease potentially complicating IV access. Freddie Khalil Owens, September 20th, 2024, South Carolina. He was convicted of the 1997 murder of 41-year-old Irene Graves, a convenience store cashier in Greenville. Owens was 19 when he shot Graves in the head during an armed robbery, killing her over just $1,200 in cash. While on death row, Owens also murdered a fellow inmate, underscoring his violent history. Owens was sentenced to death in 1999 for Graves's murder. His death sentence was overturned twice on appeal, but each time reinstated in new sentencing trials. After 25 years of litigation, South Carolina resumed executions in 2024, following a 13-year pause. Owens became the first person executed in South Carolina in 2011. He was put to death by lethal injection at Broad River Correctional Institution, Columbia, and pronounced dead at 6:55 p.m. on September. Owens had an extensive final meal: 2 cheeseburgers, 20 fries, a well-done ribeye steak, 6 chicken wings, 2 strawberry sodas, and a slice of apple pie. He declined to make any formal final statement. As the lethal drugs were administered, Owens simply said "bye" to his lawyer. Those were his last audible words. Media witnesses noted he appeared calm and even had a slight smile as the execution proceeded. South Carolina had struggled to obtain lethal injection drugs for years. Owens's execution marked the state's return to injections after legal changes. It was carried out after the U.S. Supreme Court and governor denied last-minute clemency requests. Travis James Mullis, September 24, 2024, Texas. Convicted of the January 2008 murder of his 3-month-old son, Elijah Mullis. In a crime that shocked investigators, Mullis sexually assaulted the infant, then strangled him and stomped on the baby's head repeatedly. He dumped little Elijah's body in a Galveston roadside field and fled the state. Mullis was quickly charged with capital murder, and in 2011, a jury sentenced him to death. At trial, prosecutors highlighted the gruesome details and Mullis's own videotaped confession. His defense presented evidence of Mullis's lifelong mental illness and abusive childhood, but the jury found the crime heinous enough to warrant the ultimate punishment. After years of on-off appeals, he was executed by lethal injection in Huntsville on September 24, 2024. He was pronounced dead at 7:01 p.m. As per Texas policy, Mullis was not given a special last meal. He ate the standard dinner available to all prisoners. In his final statement, Mullis expressed deep regret. He said he regretted killing his son and apologized to the boy's mother. He thanked death row officers and fellow inmates for showing that rehabilitation is possible, saying, "We have changed. We are not the same. It was my decision that put me here." Mullis's execution proceeded without incident as Texas's routine protocol, making him the 4th person executed by Texas in 2024. Marcellus Khalifa Williams, September 24, 2024, Missouri. Convicted of the 1998 murder of 42-year-old Leisha Gale, a former St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter. Williams broke into Gale's University City home on August 11, 1998, intending to burglarize it. When Gale came downstairs from her shower, Williams attacked her with a kitchen knife, stabbing her 43 times during a struggle. Williams maintained his innocence, later fueled controversy over his guilt. In 2001, a jury convicted Williams of first-degree murder, robbery, and burglary, sentencing him to death. His case became notorious after a 2017 stay of execution when DNA on the murder weapon was found to belong to an unknown male. A Special Innocence Review Board was convened, then dissolved. Missouri moved forward once courts refused further stays. Williams was executed by lethal injection at the state prison in Bonne Terre just after 6 p.m. Williams ate a final meal of chicken wings and tater tots and met with his spiritual advisor for prayers before execution. Williams praised God and remained spiritually defiant. "All praise be to Allah in every situation," were his last written words. During the execution itself, he echoed this sentiment. Williams was pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. He was the 11th inmate executed in Missouri in 2024, despite unresolved doubts in his case. His execution was notably carried out over widespread appeals for clemency, including from jurors and a judge who felt his death sentence was disproportionate. Emmanuel Antonio Littlejohn, September 26, 2024, Oklahoma. convicted for his role in the 1992 murder of 31-year-old Kenneth Mears, owner of the Root and Scoot convenience store in Oklahoma City. Littlejohn and an accomplice, Glenn Bethany, robbed the store. Mears was shot in the head and killed during the robbery. Only one bullet was fired, but prosecutors in separate trials argued each man was the shooter. Witnesses identified him as the gunman. He was sentenced to death in 1995 under then DA Bob Macy. In 2023, the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board recommended clemency. However, Governor Kevin Stitt denied clemency. After 32 years on death row, he was executed by lethal injection at 10 a.m. on September 26, 2024, and pronounced dead at 10:17 a.m. He enjoyed a meat lover's pizza, 2 slices of cheesecake, and a Coke as his final meal. He made this request and ate on the eve of his execution. Turning to his family among the witnesses, Littlejohn said, "I love you," and reassured them that everything would be okay. These were his final spoken words. He offered no apology in the chamber for the crime itself, having already apologized to Mears' family during his clemency hearing. Oklahoma officials administered the drugs at 10 a.m., and he was unconscious within minutes. This was Oklahoma's 3rd execution of 2024. Derek Ryan Dearman, October 17, 2024, Alabama. Convicted of the 2016 massacre of 5 people in Citronelle, Alabama, crime described as a drug-fueled rampage. On August 20, 2016, Dearman broke into a house where his estranged girlfriend was staying, murdered everyone inside with an axe and a gun. The victims were Joseph Turner and his wife Shannon Randall, their friend Robert Brown, and neighbors Justin and Chelsea Reed. Dearman bludgeoned the victims with an axe as they slept and shot each in the head at close range, executing even the wounded. Dearman turned himself in the next day, confessing with horror at what he'd done. In 2020, he pleaded guilty to 5 counts of capital murder. Jury unanimously recommended death. Christopher Leroy Collings, December 3, 2024, Missouri. Convicted of the 2007 abduction, rape, and murder of 9-year-old Rowan Ford in Stella, Missouri. Collings was a trusted family friend, Uncle Chris to Rowan. On November 3, 2007, he kidnapped Rowan from her home while her mother was out. He took the child to his trailer and sexually assaulted her, then strangled her with a cord when she recognized him as her attacker. Collings dumped Rowan's body in a cave. It was found days later, sparking national outrage. In 2012, a jury found Collings guilty and sentenced him to death. Collings's appeals argued he had been drinking and did not premeditate the murder, but the horrific nature of the crime outweighed those factors. Missouri Governor Mike Parson denied clemency. Collings was executed by lethal injection at 6:10 p.m. on December 3, 2024. Collings requested a bacon cheeseburger, breaded mushrooms, tater tots, and a chef salad as his final meal. Prison officials provided this meal prior to the execution. In a written final statement, Collings accepted his fate and apologized. "Right or wrong, I accept this situation for what it is," he wrote. "To anyone that I have hurt in this life, I am sorry. I hope that you are able to get closure and move on. I hope to see you in heaven one day." These words, expressing accountability and remorse, were shared publicly just before his execution. Collings was pronounced dead within 10 minutes of the injection. Family members of Rowan Ford watched as justice was carried out. Execution was the 4th in Missouri in 2024 and the 23rd nationwide that year. Joseph Corcoran, December 18, 2024, Indiana. Convicted of the 1997 mass murder of 4 people in Fort Wayne, Indiana, among them Corcoran's own brother. On July 26, 1997, 19-year-old Corcoran overheard his brother and friends talking about asking him to move out. Enraged, Corcoran retrieved a rifle and gunned down his brother, James Corcoran, his sister's fiancé, Robert Scott, and 2 family friends, Douglas and Chipple Davis, as they sat in the living room. Each victim was shot in the head. Notably, Corcoran had been acquitted 5 years earlier in the shooting deaths of his parents. raising suspicions that he'd killed before. In 1999, a jury convicted Corcoran of 4 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to death. He spent 25 years on Indiana's death row. Corcoran struggled with severe mental illness and at times waived his appeals, saying he was ready to die. After legal battles over his competency, Indiana scheduled him as the state's first execution in 15 years. Corcoran was executed by lethal injection shortly after midnight on December 18, 2024, and pronounced dead at 12:44 a.m. Corcoran kept his request simple. He asked for Ben and Jerry's ice cream for his last meal. When prison staff asked if he had a final statement, Corcoran flatly replied, "Not really. Let's get this over with." He had no further words. Witnesses noted that he appeared resigned and even relieved as the execution began. The execution started at 12:28 a.m. and was completed by 12:44 a.m. Indiana used a single drug protocol. This was Indiana's first execution since 2009, carried out with the presence of Corcoran's spiritual advisor at his side in the chamber. Kevin Ray Underwood, December 19, 2024, Oklahoma. Convicted of the 2006 murder of 10-year-old Jamie Rose Bolin in Purcell, Oklahoma, a killing driven by a cannibalistic fantasy. Underwood, then 26, lured his young neighbor Jamie into his apartment with an offer to see his pet. He bludgeoned her with a cutting board, sexually assaulted her, and suffocated her with duct tape and plastic bags. Underwood had planned to cannibalize the child's body. Police, searching for the missing girl, found Jamie's remains hidden in a plastic container in Underwood's closet, along with chilling tools he'd prepared. In 2008, Underwood pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. A Cleveland County jury sentenced him to death, given the especially heinous, torturous nature of the crime. He spent 16 years on death row. Underwood's attorneys argued clemency due to severe mental illnesses and the fact that his crime was rooted in deviant fantasy rather than hatred. Oklahoma's parole board denied clemency, and Attorney General Gentner Drummond insisted on the execution, calling Underwood a deeply evil monster. Underwood was executed by lethal injection on December 19, 2024, which was his 45th birthday, and was pronounced dead at 10:14 a.m. Underwood requested a large feast from the prison canteen: chicken fried steak with mashed potatoes and gravy, cheeseburger with fries and ketchup, pinto beans, hot roll, and a cola. He was served this meal at 5:40 p.m. the evening before his execution. In his final statement, Underwood condemned the timing of his execution, saying, "The decision to execute me on my birthday and 6 days before Christmas was a needlessly cruel thing to do to my family." Despite that complaint, he then apologized profusely. "But I'm very sorry for what I did, and I wish I could take it back." He expressed remorse for the pain he caused both the Bolin family and his own. Underwood was declared unconscious at 10:09 a.m. and dead by 10:14 a.m. This was Oklahoma's 4th execution of 2024, the 25th and final execution in the U.S. for 2024, the year 2024.